Okay, everybody out there, welcome to the third episode of Sword in the Darkness. I am your humble host as well as your game master. My name is Matt Yancic, and tonight's adventure is set in a homebrew world of my own making called Frank Reich. Thank you very much for tuning in to watch the big program tonight. I do appreciate every viewer, every like, every subscription that you feel so inclined to give the channel. So, to jump right into the adventure, let's get started and recap some of the events that have taken place in the last few weeks for our heroes. So this morning, the nation of Frankreich was celebrating the Day of the Green, which is a salve against the coming of the darkness and remembrance of the fertility and the beauty of Mother Nature, a Mother Nature that is long since gone. It was meant to be a day for food and drink and for stories and laughter and time spent with friends and family, but years of isolation have sown the seeds of discontent in the people of Frankreich, and cheer has given way to terror. Seraphinian revolutionaries intent on smashing the monarchy and elevating the voices of the people have interrupted the celebration with an attempt on the life of the provost of Frankreich's capital city of Braves, Edward Pomeroy. While soldiers in the king's army and the local Braves military dealt with the panicked mobs, our four heroes did what they always do, took a side and intervened. However, the provost they seemingly saved did not seem to be the same provost they knew. Something about the man had changed, but exactly what, our four heroes didn't know. Knowing that something was amiss, our heroes regrouped at the safe haven of a nearby ally, bringing with them two, shall we say, prisoners to help sort things out. Daniil Codier, an impressionable young man and recent recruit of the Seraphinians, and Mage Laflame, ranking and respected mage of the Guild of the Arts Cosmique, charged with protecting the provost. A discussion with Daniil revealed that he has bought into the propaganda that the revolutionaries are pure-hearted heroes with the best interests of the people of Frankreich citizens in mind, while an interrogation with the mage revealed that Laflame might not be who they seemed, in the same way that Provost Pomeroy was not quite who they seemed, after the attack anyway. As a matter of fact, while under great duress brought about by the interrogation, Mage Laflame burst into a viscous black ichor not unlike the residue left behind by the cosmic monstrosities from the darkness. Awaiting further word from Daniil Codier about a possible meeting with the Seraphinian revolutionaries, our 4 brave heroes move to the Whistling Pig, a shady establishment known for its beds, its baths, and its pies, though not necessarily in that order. And so now, at the end of the day of the green, we find the Whistling Pig packed, stuffed, you might say, with foul, drunken revelers, the runoff of today's festivities. As a kind of meeting point and neutral territory for gang members, miscreants, and other lowlifes of Frankreich, the Whistling Pig is the perfect place for our rather shady heroes to blend in and disappear. Huddled together in a dark corner of the tavern, our 4 heroes take a moment to cash in on a well-earned rest, some fresh baths, a few cat naps, in watches of course, and some of that delicious pie that I mentioned before. Each has their own lead, a small piece of this adventure's puzzle, and they now concern themselves with swapping notes. So without further ado, let's move in on our heroes for tonight. So, all right, everyone, these are our 4 heroes that will be leading the adventure for tonight. And now I'm going to turn it over to the 4 of yourselves. And at this point, we can correct any information you may have wrong in your heads or may have forgotten. We can answer some questions about what happened in the last couple of episodes. And we can just generally recount what those clues and leads are, and maybe even what some of the questions are, as far as the progress of the story that's been made. Is there anyone that would like to start us off and just sort of tell us where you are in the adventure and what you think may or may not be going on? Anyone? I'll use my old joke and say, maybe no one.
Sure, I'll start. I'm Henri Ducasse, who is probably one of the shadier characters of the things. He deals in rare antiquities from beyond the wall, and his lead in this case comes back to a friend, and his friend Bruno, the metalsmith, and but quite by accident, when he tackled the leader of the revolutionaries, it turned out to be Bruno's son, the Daniil that you had mentioned before. So probably having a softer spot for Daniil than he would have for just any random revolutionary. Ducasse let him, and well, the whole group kind of decided to let him go and see if he could speak to the other people. And Henri is really concerned about trying to put the kibosh on this revolutionary group, to get Bruno's son back into, get him into a good college and in a good school or something, because
get him down, headed down a different path
down
than the
a better path.
revolutionary path that he's headed right now. And so,
absolutely.
And so, is it safe to say, and this is a question I'm posing for all of you, that you're all waiting here at the Whistling Pig? I know, because you're waiting to hear back from Daniil, who may come back or may not come back. We haven't really answered that question yet. At a certain point, to inform you as to whether or not you're allowed to go to this meeting, this secret meeting of the Seraphinian revolutionaries. That is correct, everyone? I just want to double check.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you for that, Henri. Anyone else want to chime in with their own perspective on things so far in the story? I will use my...
Well, in our last episode of Law and Order Braves,
there we go.
I was the last person to be seen alive with Laflame.
Yeah.
So I was very concerned when he just suddenly burst into a puddle of goo on the street. So I tried my best to clean it up as best as possible.
Mhm.
We'll see how that pans out in a future episode. So I'm no stranger to blood and guts. I was pretty calm when body parts were raining down from the sky.
That is
I
true.
just don't want this to come back to me because I've already been the daughter of the witch who got, unceremoniously dispatched with. I don't need more of that to be reflected on me. So I'm a bit nervous trying to prove my innocence, if that comes to it, and trying to be as unsuspicious as possible. I'm curious to see how the revolutionaries play into the flame and the provost and how all of this turns out, but I'm also a little bit preoccupied with my own concerns at this point.
That absolutely makes sense. And just to sort of clarify here, the reason why you had brought Mage LaFlame back was because you had made a very successful roll on I don't remember if it was an ability or skill called Slave Maker,
It
in
was a
which
cipher,
it was a
yeah.
cipher. That's right. I'm sorry. And you figured, well, while I'm able to control Mage LaFlame, I might as well bring them back with us to the safe haven, to the safe house, and maybe we can get to the bottom of what's going on. Is that
And it would also
correct?
prevent him from attacking me and other members of the group at that point as well.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Makes sense. Fair enough. Anyone else? Francois or Philippe, would you like to chime in with your angle on all of this?
Philippe is enjoying a pie which may or may not contain parts of rat, but his thread to unravel comes from a monstrosity which was used in the attack of the Day of the Green, the National Day of the Green parade. Philippe accidentally fatally struck a behemoth monstrosity, and in the commission of acting that way, he discovered that there were brands on the back of this monstrosity. And one of those brands would indicate that an owner at one time was Najak, whom Philippe knows from his time in the VERTS, the Valorous Emergency Response Tactical Squad. We get to wear green, which is why we think the National Day of the Green is all about our unit. But anyways, there is certainly a little bit of information to follow up on here to find out how perhaps that monstrosity was taken and used in this attack, which simultaneously corrupted LaFlame and we believe did something to the provost, but we don't know what.
And ladies and gentlemen, and when I say ladies and gentlemen, I mean my players, but also ladies and gentlemen viewers who are watching. I got to be honest, I really like that detail of you tying in the vert to the Day of the Green. It's something that it seems so obvious now in retrospect, but like, why don't you give yourself 2 XP?
Ooh.
And here's what I'd like you to do. I want you to give 1 XP to someone else. So you can keep 1 for yourself, and you can give 1 out to someone else for something perhaps that they have done in one of the prior games. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the way that I drive a wedge through the friendships of my friends. Would you
To
like
make us
to?
green with envy.
Well,
Yes.
that is obviously, I shall gift that XP to Michelle Illet
Oh,
because she is boldly wearing green
Oh, okay.
in respect of the verts.
There we go. I
well,
like it.
thank you. I will write it down.
All right, so we've awarded an XP to Philippe for his wonderful detail. I really like that. Thank you. I'm going to be sure to steal that, and I'll definitely be using that in the source book when I kickstart all of this and be giving you no credit at all. But if
Philippe
anyone
will expect some
happens
commission.
to be watching this, then you'll know. Maybe I'll edit this part out later just to make it look like it's my own idea. But at any rate, and 1 goes to Michelle for being in the spirit of course, not St. Patrick's Day, but Day of the Green and Levert. So that leaves Francois. Would you like to catch us up on where you're at this point?
Well, I think it's pretty much covered. All the backstory has been done. Everyone's taken that, so I guess
you can make something up.
Picking it up from this moment going forward, we gotta have a plan. We have potential destinations. And I would say while we're waiting here at the Whistling Pig, there are lovely ladies around us selling their wares while we're killing time. So I think we should approach one of these vendors to try and acquire some T&A, textiles and apparel, because as it's known in international trade law. Because for one thing, LA definitely could use a change of clothes. Just to throw off anybody who might have seen some crazy events happening out on the street earlier.
This is actually a very good point, and I'd kind of actually I'm really glad, Francois, that you brought this up. So Elay, you were, and we know this, you were pretty much the person last seen with Mage Laflame. And of course, I'm sure you used the utmost discretion when you brought Mage Laflame along with you. Can we assume that you have changed like your appearance in some way, or this is also actually a really good detail? Or are you kind of still dressed in your...
That is one of the reasons we picked the Whistling Pig, because of the baths.
Yes. So I've bathed. I've sent my clothes to be laundered, so you can't find them.
Literally. Okay, got it.
Get rid of more evidence as well.
Right.
And yeah, I'm wearing a different tunic. I look a bit like a sad silk merchant, but
and
it's
actually,
okay.
as you mentioned this, several alleys over in a darkened, dirty, dank corner of the city, a unfortunately, homeless refugee is being turned over and searched by soldiers of the King's Army because your clothing, which you've swapped out with this person, has been traced to them. And the dogs that are being used by the soldiers don't, well, they were quite accurate, except they happen to lead back to the wrong person whom you exchanged clothes with. Is this all right to use as a little detail in there? I don't want to tell you what your character may or may not have done.
You know, I feel a twinge of guilt, but to say anything would automatically draw suspicion back towards myself, which is what I'm trying to avoid. So I just sort of discreetly leave some gold coins on the street in his general direction.
And indeed, as this is happening, and as the homeless refugee takes several blows delivered to them, and perhaps even a good shaking, and then is left and abandoned, as the soldiers walk away, we move in for a close-up view of their toothless face as they grin, and out from their mouth pour 2 or 3 coins that were hidden under, gold coins, livres, hidden under their tongue. As they bite into them, they recognize that it was well worth the 2 or 3 punches that they took. And so, with that though, I believe that we have a little bit of business for the 4 of you to discuss. And again, at this point, I'm just going to step back and allow you, the 4 of you, to talk for a while. I'm going to remind you of kind of like what the I want to say order of operations, because actually, like, unlike a few of my players here, I did actually watch the prior episodes to catch up. The order of operations here is that you do have the clue concerning the 5 brands that were on the Street Behemoth. You do have the clue of Mage Laflame, who seems not to have been who they were. You have the clue of the Provost, who appeared to disappear and then reappear in very good spirits and speaking your praise at a certain point, even. And then you have a clue of Gerald, your small cricket that's perhaps in a little bamboo cage or something like that, who was licking Mage Laflame, calming Mage Laflame, not unlike what Gerald's ability was, which is to soothe cosmic monstrosities. And yeah, I believe those are all of the clues. If there's something I've forgotten, of course, remind me. But would the four of you like to discuss these clues as you understand them?
I'm
Yeah.
also, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Okay. I'm also curious to see what the other person that seemed to be like puppeting LaFlame that I saw through my little knitted swatch of monster hair, like who the identity of that person is, what their involvement, if any, is in all of this, because it's too many coincidences for me. So
Yeah, it's almost like there's a game master behind all this, like making it
Hmm.
all come together. That sounds great. Let's find out what everyone else wants to do, and then we'll sort of figure out the order to handle this in. Please remind me of that because I have this stupid way of forgetting. But okay, so possibly investigate and look into who it was that was puppeting, shall we say, Mage Laflame. Any other orders of business? Or?
Yeah, Elay, you still have Gerald, right?
yes.
Can you speak to him? Can he say things or?
He sort of speaks in ways that I don't quite understand yet, so I'm not sure if
He
you can
seemed to
give it a
take
try.
to LaFlame.
I mean, I
Maybe
guess we
he
could
can
give it a go.
shed some light on the explosion.
Okay. I mean, I
But I
guess we
don't
could
know.
try.
That's another possibility then. Anyone else? Go
I
ahead.
think the most important thing right now is to wait on Daniil to see where that particular track takes us. He has left to talk to his higher ups in what was that group called?
The Seraphinian Revolutionaries.
The SRs.
For
But he
sure.
was very cagey about it. Francois and I wanted to go with him, just to go. And he needed to check with them first and was going to meet us here at the Whistling Pig.
So he is scheduled to come back, however, the exact time you're not sure of. And we can accelerate or slow down time as much as you want. We can give you the time to go ahead and have your meeting, your talk, and then he may or may not come back.
I suppose he will also discover that much of his revolutionary band was captured and was being mentally tortured.
And that is another point to sort of bring up here. Of course, you were watching the Darkites, who were under the employ of Bastarak Services, a mercenary company that was working with Provost Pomeroy. There were 5 of them, I believe it was, one in the lead, that were taking care of interrogating the Seraphinian revolutionaries after they had been captured. So you would expect that at a certain point, those Darkites know what they're doing. Minions back. Anyone else or?
Well, the way I see it, destinations are kind of a key point. Like, we know this about LaFlame, but like LaFlame bursting into Icker, that doesn't really give us a place to go or a thing to go do for investigation purposes. I really kind of see us narrowed down to like 3 destinations. We go back to where the big almost riot was to find the Darkites and do something with them, either try and join or whatever. We go to the blacksmiths to talk to the blacksmith about his son. And I'm blanking on names tonight, but
it's okay. Bruno is the blacksmith.
Bruno the blacksmith and his son. Or the third one was in keeping with the theme. There's a name, starts with an N. He owned the elephant, the behemoth. Can't remember the N. Nosterak?
Oh, Najak.
Najak.
Yeah. And I believe, if I am remembering correctly, because here's the problem, is sometimes the games blend into what my notes are, and I don't always mention the things that are in my notes. What I remember, Philippe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, this is a very embarrassing thing and I'm revealing stuff. They were a compatriot from the Vert.
Correct.
With you at a
And they
certain
left
point.
about the same time I did for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
There is a camaraderie in the units, especially ours.
Najak
So it
is...
should not be difficult to track him down if he lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess a fourth destination would be the Whistling Pig, which would mean we just sit our asses right here and wait for
And
Daniil.
wait.
I mean, that could be a good option as well, because we're already here, and then whatever Daniil tells us could give us more information of where to narrow down our search one way or the other. And there's pies.
Well, you know what? I was going to make a pie joke. And you,
But that
you
was
did
yesterday.
it for me. You did it for me.
It's too late. That was yesterday.
I know. I'm a little slow.
It's okay.
So if I'm hearing everyone correctly, just sort of listening in, it looks like we've circled back to Elay, and you sort of figuring out, looking into, if you possibly can, who was puppeting LaFlame, and then also looking into Gerald, the cricket, and why Gerald may have been, we can just say for now, soothing the aches of Mage LaFlame. Is that where we're all at?
Mhm.
All right. So against the backdrop of a raucous crowd, because as I said, this is the runoff. These are the dregs of Frankreich, but good-natured dregs who are having a lot of fun. Against this raucous sort of background, the four of you sequester yourselves in a corner of the Whistling Pig. Pie pans, the remnants of pie pans pies consumed. Wait, I'm trying to figure out the order here of explaining this. The pie plates left over after you have consumed a massive quantity of piles of pies, stacked all across the table. Are we going to look into going to look into the puppeteer, or we're going to look into the cricket, or both at the same time? Which one first?
Well, Gerald's here, so I guess we could try asking him.
And as soon as you sort of say, "Oh, well, Gerald's here," we can ask him an answer to Philippe's, or I think it was Henri's request. Gerald hops down along your arm, hops onto the table, turns, and then just starts rubbing those like back legs together. And even in this raucous noise of the tavern, the Whistling Pig, you can hear just the barest bit of music as his legs rub back and forth, and just a little bit of mumbling as he looks from one to the other.
I have not had a good chance to look at this cricket. And now that I've had a pint of green grog with my pie, I am a little more interested in him. So I would like to make the first roll of the night.
Got it.
To see if I can tell what it is he's mumbling. I do have a training in names, habits, languages, layers, and topics of monsters. Languages being the key word in that trained skill.
So absolutely. Why don't we have you've got the skill itself, so we'll ease the task by 1. And then do you want to apply any effort to this as you sort of lean over and listen in to what he's saying, and then perhaps
one level of
effort?
Intellect effort.
Okay.
It's all I can spare.
Got it. And then finally, do you have some sort of an item, or do you want to ask for an assist from one of your compatriots?
Who's been listening to this
Maybe
insect the most?
Probably a
I
lady
have.
as well. Yeah.
And I also have interdimensional knowledge, if that helps.
Yeah, I can't really apply several things. Like you kind of act as an asset, as the third sort of point.
I
on
would
the
like to
triangle.
use Elay to see if she can amplify what he's saying, translate louder so I can
maybe
hear
sharing
it
a little bit of knowledge and sort of
He also said this.
right.
See if I can detect any grammatical patterns in his speech.
So go ahead.
That's it. Let's roll.
3, easement of 3. 14! Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
What you're essentially getting is a critique of the world around you and how essentially this isn't really so much a cricket. You're hearing the language from the darkness. You're not particularly sure what dialect or perhaps even what language this is, but this is something from the darkness. So the cricket is either possessed by or from the darkness. And of course, in the world that we've created, the darkness means they've come from another dimension. So whether or not this cricket actually is from another dimension, that sort of remains to be seen. But they are speaking in tongues that you don't understand, but they seem to be kind of remarking on the things going on around them.
Seems to be a very observant cricket.
That's my Gerald.
So, Elay, would you like to take this a step further with Gerald, or go with the idea of the puppeteer?
I mean, I guess we could. Can we try both?
Yeah. What, you want to mix them up somehow and connect them? I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
All right. Tell me
Let's
tell me
try
your
it.
theory. Let's put it all together.
I don't know. I have a feeling like this puppeteer might be behind all of this, maybe just for chaos's sake, or he likes feeding on suffering, or he's trying to perhaps place himself as a ruler or head mage or something.
I like this. I like this
Is
line
my
of
guess.
inquiry. All right. So then tell me how you're going to access. Are you going to remember back and perhaps take a look at I believe it was a scarf you were weaving, is that right?
Yeah,
You're going to
so I
take
was
another look at
like,
that or look at the
yeah,
cricket?
I'm gonna try like maybe look through my scarf again and try to remember what exactly I saw when I was looking at the flame through it, and try to communicate this to Gerald in a way that he would understand and that I could understand his responses back.
Okay, I like this. So here's what I'll do. I'll automatically count the roll that we just made, or I should say Philippe made, and the assist you gave him as maybe one as an asset, right? So you understand a little bit more. You've got like some fingers in the doorway of opening up your understanding on this. And then I'll count, and this is a rare occurrence, ladies and gentlemen. I will count the scarf itself as an asset. Do you want to apply any effort or
Yes, please. I'd like to apply some intellect effort.
1 or 2 levels?
Let's do 2. Why not?
Okay, all right. So deduction of 5 from your intellect minus whatever edge you have. And
Okay.
now, do you have some sort of an ability? I know you do, but you're just gonna have to sort of remind me of what your ability was.
Other than intellectually, with the interdimensional knowledge.
That's right. Right. That's it. So we've got an
Yeah.
easement of 5 on this. So why don't you go ahead and make your roll?
Okay. Ah. Bring up my dice roll. And there we go.
Oh, a 5.
Oh.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, it's not a great roll.
No.
Here's the thing.
XP reroll.
Oh, can I?
Yeah.
Can I?
It just costs you a mere 1 XP, and you've been awarded 1 XP tonight, so it'll be a wash if you use it.
It's St. Patty's weekend, courtesy of the Verts. So let's do
Day
it.
of the Green, courtesy of the Verts. 18
That
now.
too.
That
Okay, much better.
Much better.
that is
Much
more
better.
like it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the sort of rolling I'm not used to. I won't lie. I'm not used to that. I'm used to the
Nor
other
I.
kind of rolling. I'm used to the re-rolling with the XP. For a roll of an 18, LaFlame was indeed, from communicating with Gerald, was indeed a cosmic monstrosity. And Gerald communicates to you almost I'm trying to put this into some sort of a metaphorical term here because I can't really. It's almost like he's communicating with you or she, whatever crickets are, in like a kind of semaphore in a very like big blocky style of language that Gerald was fulfilling his destiny, which is to ease and calm cosmic monstrosities, things from the darkness, when they get out of hand, when they get out of control. And he does indeed feel this urge. And for an 18, what you get is that Gerald was very confused because LaFlame was not a monstrosity. It was as if LaFlame was the fingers or the puppet at the end of the string of a monstrosity, some sort of extension. And you get a flash and an image in your head of puppety strings rising up and fading into the sky above back this morning at the Day of the Green at the parade. As if these strings were fading and slipping into the darkness on the other side. But I ain't giving you no names for an 18.
That's okay. I would like to give Gerald a snack of his choice.
Gerald is eyeing the green concoction that Philippe is drinking.
I just take a little like rag or thread from my borrowed shirt and dip it into his beer and
Looking at
give it.
it, you hear him curse, and you know it's a curse even though you don't know what he says. Turns
Okay.
away, hops onto the edge of the beer, and dives in and starts swimming around a little bit.
Don't you dare drink Gerald.
You already killed a behemoth.
You already killed a behemoth.
Most
Philippe,
likely,
I
Very
think you
careful
should
with
get
him.
one on the house. for that.
Philippe has an image of children peeing in a pool before Gerald hops back up onto it, licking with his little antenna his face, and then hopping off, and then he's sort of wobbling a little bit. He's listing in orbit a little bit, and he goes, yeah. He hops on and back up your sleeve, leaving a little tiny traces of wet beer footprints, and back onto your shoulder.
Okay. I would like to also
Gross.
comp Philippe's beer.
And then you can smell the breath on.
I
You can
have
smell
already
the beer
switched
on
to
his
it with
breath.
Francoise.
There's that, right. He's like, Francois, look over there. He switches to beer. Think fast. All right then. Is there anything else we'll be getting up to while we wait here at the Whistling Pig together?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Oh,
Henri,
Go
go
ahead.
first.
yeah. I want to. And I know it's busy in here, but I want to see if I can speak to the bartender, and ask him if it is a him. If he knows Daniil, and if he does, who does he hang out with in the bar?
I kind of like this question. I'm not going to say I totally like it. That just means I hadn't really thought of it before, and I'm not sure how I'm going to fit it in. But why don't you tell me who's the bartender, or who's in charge, or who's maybe running the floor for tonight? You tell me. You don't have to. I'll let you know. It's my job.
Yeah. How about a guy named Marcus?
How's he? Who is he? Yeah, go ahead.
He's been kind of the manager of this place for a while, but not like the head guy. He's kind of the like the manager in charge, but he's not the owner and doesn't make a lot of the money, but he just kind of runs the floor with the food runners and the drink runners.
I like it. Okay.
Yeah.
What's his disposition like? or I mean, you don't have to tell me. I'll just make something up on the spot. But
No, I mean, just think of a restaurant manager at Applebee's. How would they act?
Chaotic neutral.
that is a
Dead
loaded
inside.
question, and I sense a drop in Applebee subscribers after. I got to be careful with this.
But you'll probably have an increase of Applebee's managers.
So yeah, well, or I won't, depending on how I portray them. If I portray them as a heroic figure, then hey. But if I portray them the way I'm really thinking, okay. So you look around for a bit, and that folk or that fella that you had seen, or yeah, that fella that you had seen sort of walking around, who you originally mistook for a dishwasher in the back, a young, wet behind the ears, fresh upstart, who's been given his first restaurant or tavern command, comes out, and he's got like he's kind of dressed nicely in that sort of way, but awkwardly in that sort of way that we all do when we're just sort of growing up and we're putting on our nice our nice clothing for the first time. His hair is combed in a rough approximation of the style for about 15 years ago, and 15 years ago in Braves. And he steps out, and you can kind of see the fresh, sort of like almost pinkish skin on his face as he bumps his way through here and there. Um, yes, sir. Is there a problem with your drinks? Perhaps a cricket or something in them that I can take care of? We have
No,
that problem here.
no problem. And
Oh,
I palm a coin, and I push it into his hand, and I say, young sir, there's a man named Daniil, young man, who frequents this establishment. You know him?
as you withdraw your hand, you wipe the sweat of his own palm indiscreetly or discreetly on your pant leg. Daniil, sir, you know, you said that into one ear, but I do have two ears. And when he says this, he holds out one palm with the coin, and he leans in with the second palm that is open.
I I
Perhaps if he
motion
said into the second ear, I might better hear. It's very loud in here. You understand, sir?
I motioned to the knife at my belt, and I said, "Do you want me to relieve you of that other ear, sir?"
He looks down at the knife, and you not even having, without you having to roll, simply says, I think I see your point, good sir. And he waits, pauses, like he's like waits for you to get, like he said, I think. He gets rid of the lever, he puts it away, and then he suddenly
Mhm.
changes tack. And now he looks a little bit nervous. Yes, sir. I have seen Daniil in here from time to time. You understand, I don't really know him very well, but thank you very much, sir. I
Fair
hope you
enough.
enjoy your food. And he starts to turn, and
No, and I say, what I require is,
he looks very
who does he
nervous.
hang who does he hang with? And are any of them here now?
He pauses as he's sort of in mid-turn, and he now looks. Of course, he looked a little bit sweaty, and his hands were all clammy before, but now he's really starting to kind of sweat. And you can kind of see, you notice now that he's got the armpits, he's got the rings under the armpits. And he starts to breathe deeply, like he's seriously like nervous at this point. This actually, you're sort of realizing he really is like this is his first like tavern, and maybe he's a little bit officious, and he wants to move up in the ranks, but he's also a little bit of a so. Uh, I have seen him in here from time to time, but I honestly I think I just see him in here with his friends. And he sort of describes some 2 or 3 other people of about Daniel's age. But I don't
And
know their names.
they're not here yet. They're not here now.
He looks around, and he looks like he's really looking. And you're starting to be able to read this kid, and he looks like he's seriously looking. And he's, no, I don't see them. Is there a problem, perhaps? I apologize. I really don't want to get into any business between customers. We serve everyone here, as you can plainly see. We respect and truly simply exist to serve, sir. We'd like to make good food and provide a place for you to celebrate.
I appreciate that, and I'll pull out another livre and put it into his hand and say, if you see Daniil or any of his friends, you come see me first.
He looks very unsure when you say this, but he also looks like he wants to take that livre. And now it's safe to say that when you palm that second livre into his other hand, he's it's much clammier. It's downright like just sweaty. And he puts it away. And now he has that kind of flushed look to him. If you can kind of think for a moment about moments where you've been in like real turmoil and you're kind of nervous and you've just faced something that you don't quite know what it is. He has that look on his face. He falls pale, the sweat's coming down. Yes, sir. How would I go about finding you and maybe your friends here? As should I? How would I find you?
Just give me a signal, and I'll tell him to do like a hand sign of some kind. Just give me a signal if they come in.
He like practices it like 4 times. He gets it wrong the first 3 times. Like the 4th time, he's like, I think I got it. Okay. So
I sidle up to this conversation.
he looks really nervous now that a second person is kind of breathing down his neck.
I barge in and say, I have a complaint. Your beer is awful. It tastes like cricket piss. I demand a new beer. And aren't you supposed to be wearing 15 pieces of flair?
He looks down and he's actually just to sort of he's wearing a costume. He's wearing an animal costume because today is the day of the green. Many of the celebrants are dressed in like costumes evoking Mother Nature. He looks down. I believe I've got. You're right, sir. I'll get something else, sir. You're right. Please don't tell my boss.
Sure, just get me a new beer.
Absolutely.
A good one this time.
Yes, in fact, would you all like another round on the house, perhaps?
Oh, you're very generous. Thank you.
You're welcome. And he sort of shuffles off, and he takes the the cricket piss beer. And he goes into the back and he like there's this big like keg that has like cricket piss written like cricket piss brand beer. He's like, get rid of that right now. Don't pull out bull piss. Bring out bull piss. And they start to crack it open. Right. It's like a locally brewed.
It's very blonde.
Yeah. It's right. Ew,
I elbow Henri and say,
if my channel ever makes it to like advertising, we're not getting advertising. I just know that. But anyway, too many. Anyway, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
It'll just be IPA ads, just like every 5 minutes.
That'll be. That's right. And so he heads in the back, and you're fairly certain, and none of this was rolled, but I think that he is kind of wet behind the ears enough and enough of a greenhorn for you to sort of know he takes you seriously. He's in the back now. Is there anything while you 4 are alone once again that you'd like to sort of take care of?
Just elbowing Henri and say, did you get anything about Daniil out of him?
Got a description of a couple of his friends. Seem like just kids, but is it probably a chance they're part of the group too, because they're not here either.
Well, anytime we stop back in here, we should follow up on that.
Yeah,
They may very well be in Bastorak's prison.
that's true. That's true. Might
Fair.
be one of those captives.
Fair point.
So, at this point, would anyone like to, research anything, discuss anything, or shall I fast forward to continue having you wait for Daniel?
I'm comfortable with the fast forward. Yeah.
So the raucous celebration continues, and it goes on for quite a while. And half an hour passes, then an hour. You go through a few pies. You bring out, or I'm sorry, the manager for the day brings out some fresh beer. It's just more to your liking. Perhaps Gerald takes a bit of a swim, and anyone that volunteers to allow him to swim in their beer. And then the longer you wait, the less Daniel arrives. And you going to continue? Let's say that an hour and a half has passed.
Was there? I don't remember from the last session. Was there a meeting time? Like weren't the groups supposed to meet at 11?
Yes. Thank you.
And he
for
was
that
supposed
point.
to come before.
He was supposed to come
that.
for 11.
Oh.
You've got we can say like 5 or 6 hours before the meeting.
Right.
I think the description is funny. The more you wait, the less
I
he
stole
appears.
that.
It's like
I stole that from Douglas Adams.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the Vogon ships hung in the air in exactly the way that bricks don't. That's what
Well,
it made me think
yeah,
of.
that's not the quote I was thinking of, but yeah, it's from one of those.
It's
or a Dirk
very much
Gently book
his
or something.
style.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyone,
Well, we got
just continuing?
Najak and Bruno to investigate then.
I mean, we could always tell on Bruno onto his dad. If this kid doesn't show up, just be like, hey, your kid was just led a coup.
Well, attempted coup.
Attempted coup. It's
Right.
like proud parenting moment, Bruno. You want to help us out? Where's your son?
And if in our investigations we stumble on Daniil again, I'm gonna kill him. That's it. He's done.
For being late and wasting our time.
Right. He's dead to me. And soon, just it's dead in general.
So,
or captured.
Are you adjourning to go talk to Bruno, Daniel's father, who is most likely still at the fair, assuming...
How do you feel about that, Henri?
I don't know. I don't know if we should spill the beans to Bruno just yet before we have a chance to figure out exactly what this group is, because I've known the man a long time. He'll fly off the handle, and I really don't want him to go off on his son, because let's face it, we need his son as the only link to this group. So I'm afraid that there's a chance that might sever that chance. But I think it might not be a bad plan to see about finding those other 5.
So the decision is?
I'm following Henri. I'm just,
Okay.
just lead the way.
So the plan was to go back to the scene of the group and see if they're still there. Is that it? If the Baccarocs are still there?
The Darkites?
The Darkites? They're the Darkites, right? Exactly.
Under the employ of Bastorak Services.
Yeah.
Right. Well, do we want to try and infiltrate, get recruited by the Darkites? Are we just going to ask them questions? What's the plan if we find them?
I will give you a
What-
little bit of knowledge of the Darkites, and I'm so sorry, Alay. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, what day is it today?
Oh boy, that's a tough question. I don't know. It's the day of the
I mean,
green.
it's the day of the
Would it
green.
help if it were a certain day? Do you want me to call it a certain day?
Well, didn't LaFlame, when he was being possessed, tell me like, hey, you should come to services on Saturdays or
right.
something?
That's right.
So I mean, if
What
if
would-
they're having church, like we could just show up and be like, hey, I'm here because I was told to come to deal with all my angst and pain.
I am
inside."
willing to say that tomorrow morning is the day of services. If you'd
Okay.
wish. Like, so I'm not going to say it's now because it's a little bit. I'm
It's
not
a
going to say
little
it's now.
Too convenient.
A little too convenient. You know, and a good GM likes to have their players get a rest overnight so that they could, you know, leave them vulnerable to attack, be on watch, or take advantage of the fact that they don't have anyone on watch. So I'm willing to say that the services are tomorrow, but not today.
And Alea, was it the Darkites who spotted you with LaFlame?
I'm not sure. Do I know this?
You are, well, you really wouldn't. You probably might know if you made eye contact with someone as you were sort of leaving, but the way that I played it and the way that I sort of imagined it, and this is just a little bit of my style here, is you didn't really say much about whether or not you were covering yourself and sort of making sure. In some cases, of course, I just take it for granted. Okay, she's obviously not going to do this in a foolish way, and I'll sort of imagine that she's doing it. But I imagine that you were essentially using the crowd cover to disguise what you were doing, and then you just took LaFlame out. And maybe in all of that chaos, though you were using it to your advantage, you didn't quite know whether or not anyone had seen you. So I had sort of left, in my mind, the idea that maybe you didn't know saw you and who didn't.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just thinking, like, if we go to evil church tomorrow, that I should probably like disguise my appearance a bit, so it's not like, hey, we saw you with LaFlame yesterday, and where is he, by the way? We haven't seen you. Avoid all that. Maybe just like have a
Awkward.
black veil or something, so I look like I'm mourning the death of someone.
Yeah.
You know, obscure my appearance a bit.
You're the woman that shows up in the veil. I think it's at like JFK's grave like every year or something. Anyway,
That's creepy.
that no one knows. Like, I don't know if it's JFK. There's some woman that does this, but anyway, or I think she's passed on since. But so, are we heading toward the metallurgist back to see if they have their stall set up?
Yeah, we can see if Bruno's there, and we'll just be very careful about what we say.
I do have bracers to pick up, so that would close that loop quite
That's
nicely.
a good cover. Yeah, that's true.
So the four of you toss your livre onto the table and split it exactly, and use the and then, wouldn't you know it, as if on cue, the moment you stand, the flames of lanterns, candles, fires that are burning within the tavern suddenly just fire themselves toward the ceiling, dangerously so. And there's a collective rush of exclamation around the room as the ruffians here in the Whistling Pig are all shocked and surprised at this. And then suddenly all those flames grow smaller and smaller down to they're almost about ready to extinguish, as if the air in the room had been sucked out. And each one of you has to take a deep inhalation, because indeed it does feel as if the oxygen in the room, or the air, maybe in this particular century it wouldn't really know, but the air in the room seems to have thinned suddenly. And the four of you are forced to kind of take a seat, again, as if the wind had been knocked out of you, figuratively and maybe literally. Looking around the room, what you see are the patrons, slowly but surely, one by one, almost begin to stop moving, sitting back in their chairs, falling to the floor, leaning across and over a table, placing their face in their mashed potatoes, or leaning against the wall and then gradually sliding down. Each and every one of them, slowly but surely, winks out almost in the same way that you watched every flame in the tavern wink out. And now the four of you are left, silent.
Whoa. That was a neat trick. Do we see anything? Just
I don't know.
unconscious patrons?
What do you want to do, Philippe?
I want to look towards the door.
Make a roll.
I will roll.
Do you want to apply any effort? Because as you start to move your head, you find yourself almost paralyzed. You start to feel
I'll use a strength effort in this case.
Strength effort.
Yeah. That's it. Let's roll.
Oh, that's it? Okay, go ahead. For a 13, you cannot move your head. Anyone
Crap.
else? In fact, now that you try it, you can't move a single muscle on your body. And you too fall rather limp, and you start to feel a hazy fog descend upon you. Anyone else?
I'll take a stab at it.
Go ahead, Ilay, and we'll handle Francois next. Are you applying any effort? You too start to feel rather heavy.
Yeah, I'll put some physical effort into that.
1 or 2 levels.
Let's do a 1. So I might need
1
some
level.
more later.
Okay. Do you have an ability that allows you to stand or to move your head or anything that would help you out?
Other than climbing, I don't think so.
I will say this, Francois and Ilay, being our resident supernatural magic aficionados here, you recognize the sign of something descending upon the tavern. So that is...
I do have some skill in identifying.
Boom.
I'm trained in identifying and also seeing through tricks, illusions, etc.
Which one do you want to use?
Let's do identifying.
Got it. And then anything else? Do you have like some sort of an asset to help you stand or turn or whatever?
No, I should have given myself like crutches or something. I usually need them in real life, but for when I injure myself, but no. I need them in role playing too now, I guess.
So we're going
All right,
to
let's roll.
ease the task by 2. Go ahead. With a 4, what are you trying to do? Are you just turning? Are you standing up? Are you...
I'm just trying to I just figure out what's going on because the heaviest, strongest man in the party just keeled over like a moth.
Yeah.
So I'm a little concerned at this point. I don't feel so hot, and I know it probably wasn't the pies or the beer.
You focus yourself, realizing that some sort of trickery is at play, and you don't even bother to try and stand up because you know that whatever's going on, this is something dealing with time space, dealing with magic, dealing with the cosmic arts or something. And you simply look around. And with a roll of a 4, all you really know is that someone is... something big is about to happen. That's all I'm going to say. And then with that, your head kind of lolls forward and your chin rests like on your chest, and you kind of The only ability you have at this point is maybe to peer around with your eyes. Francois, you were going to say something?
Yes. I want to stand up and look around. Keep your head on a swivel. Stay alert. Stay alive, Private. Ain't got to get ready if you stay ready.
Why don't
So,
you play
like, I wanna-
military characters? Why do you play these magic characters? I know you're a big Doctor Strange fan, but like you'd be such a natural.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, Philippe. No offense. I'm just saying he's got 2 branches under his belt.
Yes.
Right.
So
Well,
Francois,
in some characters, I do play like a ninja type person.
it's
but,
true. In Steve,
we made me the.
So Steve is running an awesome Wasted World campaign for DM Scotty, playtesting it right now. I know that it's nothing being streamed, but just shout out to Steve for that. But anyway,
Yeah. So my ability is adaptation. Thanks to a latent mutation, a device implanted in your spine, or in my case, a ritual performed with dragon's blood, you now remain at a comfortable temperature, never need to worry about dangerous radiation, diseases, or gases. Gases, I think, might be an important one.
Okay.
Here, and can always breathe in any environment.
Okay.
Even the vacuum of space.
We'll use that. I'm not going to say whether or not it's going to work. We'll
okay.
Give you an A for effort. Any effort? I shouldn't have said that because now I'm mixing up a game term with like a.
Yeah. Is this going to be might or speed?
You can call it whatever you want, whatever one you think is more logical, but maybe
I'll say might for me to stand up and look around.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll apply effort. And for standing up. Oh, I carry rations with me. What if I take a bite of an energy bar?
Well, you'd have to raise it to your mouth. So we'd have to make a separate roll. We're going to have to scratch everything we're doing, make a separate roll for that, and then we'll see if you can stand up.
Yeah, I guess I just don't have any like physical assets.
Give it a roll with a 3.
Just the ability and the effort.
Easement of a 3. Oh, no, ability and effort. Yeah, you're right. Okay, I'm sorry, 2.
Why is it frozen? Okay.
You would think
16.
You would think that a 16 would be enough. You fall immediately flat, face forward, onto the floorboards, and you're just staring now between a couple of floorboards where you're looking down into the wine cellar or the beer cellar, I guess, and you're staring at all of the attendants downstairs who had been removing the cricket piss beer because nobody seemed to like it, and now they're all flat, like on their faces below. Henri, are you doing anything?
I think I see the writing on the wall, and I'm just gonna
fall face forward onto the table.
Yeah.
Those of you that cannot see, because maybe your head is down or you're face down on the floor, you hear a door creaking open. And just sort of calculating in your head, you realize that the door is coming from the back, the kitchen area. And then you hear one step and the creak of a floorboard, and a second step, and a third step. And maybe one of you, I'm not sure who, can actually feel a slight depression in the floorboards as whoever this person is steps on one of the floorboards that you happen to be resting on, walks by, walks over to, you think, the bar, just sort of calculating in your head. Then you hear the slide of glass against wood. You assume that someone's picking up a drink. And those of you that can see what's going on see a rather heavy-set, greasy-looking cook, clearly by the apron and the stains of blood and oil on their apron, step out, place their hand on a glass, slide it along the countertop and down the beer, and then all of you hear the glass slamming against the countertop. Then you hear the creaking, those of you that cannot see, of the countertop, and those of you that can see the cook looking out across everything. There's maybe just the smallest little smile. And there's an intelligence to the cook's eyes, those of you that can see the cook, that you wouldn't, no offense to cooks, you wouldn't ordinarily see in a place of this repute. The cook steps forward, those of you that can see, walks over and across to your table, taps one of the other patrons ever so lightly, tipping them out of their seat and causing them to fall onto the floorboards, slides a chair up, and takes a seat. Leans forward, looks down at Francois, who doesn't know this, but can see, maybe out of the corner of your eye, a boot, and maybe the dripping of some oil and grease and maybe even some blood from the apron of the cook. They lean over and with a single hand grabs you, Francois, by the scuff of the neck, yanks you up, and slams you back down into your seat where you were unceremoniously deposited, and you can now see the cook. They lean forward, looks you, Philippe, up and down, looks Francois up and down, looks Henri up and down, looks Ile up and down, and leans back. When they lean back, there's almost like a mist or a vapor that follows in the wake of their movement. And deep behind the image, which you now realize is an image and maybe isn't really the cook, what you see buried deep in there is the image of Mage Barbiea, someone who you've seen before. To refresh your memories, you once handled a case for a certain fellow by the name of Guillaume and a certain prisoner who was about to be executed by the name of Durand. You remember going to Durand's home to figure out why it was the innocent Durand would confess to a crime that he didn't commit and be scheduled for execution next week. Why he would take the fall for Guillaume, who is the real guilty person. Barbier leans forward, and again, you see that wake of mist. What you see is a mist that almost peels backward like a dolphin breaking the surface of the waves of the ocean, of the cook, but it's really Barbier, Mage Barbier's face, as she leans forward, and she smiles at each one of you. I don't like insects, she says. When I was a young girl, we mages were outcasts. Perhaps you, Ile. She leans inward, directs herself at you. You, Ile, can perhaps identify with what I'm saying. When I was a young girl, we were outcasts. We mages of the Guild of the Arts Cosmique. We are pariahs for worshipping the cosmic arts. Because of that, they came for us. They burned our homes. They chased us. They murdered us, one by one by one. Ile, can you identify with that? Perhaps you can. I think you can. When you're thinking of Mommy and Daddy every night, and you have no idea where they are. They chased us as pariahs. They murdered each and every one of us slowly, one by one, and each night I slept in a different bed. But it wasn't really a bed. I'd sleep in a haystack here. I would sleep in a wagon there. I would sleep in a barn. But there was one thing that I always had. I had insects. I would awaken in the morning with fleas in me because I was sleeping in a stable. I would awaken with bed bugs biting at my flesh. And she holds up her arm and pulls back her robe, and she shows scratches up and down. Every night, every morning, I could not sleep. I felt tired for years and years and years because they haunted us. Even today, it feels like the insects are still there, biting at my flesh. But when the darkness came, they chased us no more because we could build a wall. We could save Frankreich while the rest of the world drowned, while the land was reduced to cinders and ash. They came and they asked us, they begged us to help them, and we built the wall. I don't like insects. You four. And now your mind shifts because maybe you'd been thinking that she was talking about Gerald. You four remind me of insects that I cannot get rid of. You interfered. You little puppet master, Francois, how do you feel now? Do you feel like the puppet master? Do you feel like you had control of that little corpse you're reanimating? Do you remember that? I remember it. You, 4, and VA think you could interfere in what is going on here in Braves. Now, please, calm down. I know, you're very nervous right now. Please don't all speak at once. It's a little joke. You can't really speak, can you? Well, we find ourselves meeting once more here. And the cook leans back, and you see that wake of mist. And once more, it's Mage Barbiea. Leans back, holds out her hand, and like a puppet, one of the patrons stands up, walks over to a keg, pours a beer, and then stumbles over, sort of spilling the beer a little bit, and places it in Barbiea's hand. She looks at it, takes a sip, and sets it down. We find ourselves at an intersection, at the crossroads again. I want to know why you would murder Mage Laflame. And when she says that, she leans into you, Ilay. But she's obviously talking to all 4 of you. You may all speak, and as she says this, she leans back, that mist flows around her form, and now you can't move, but all 4 of you are suddenly able to speak and talk. So you're free to interact with her. And her last question, just to remind you, was, why did you murder Mage Laflame? Please don't lie. Oh, has the cat got your tongue? Please speak up. Why would you do this? Oh.
Laflame committed suicide.
She waves her hand in front of you. Make a defense roll.
Oh,
You
no.
feel a ripple as like the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. And you can feel a wave of cosmic darkness, of the cosmic arts coming across you. 18.
18.
You shut down completely, and you can hear the conversation, but now you're just sort of leaning against, even with an 18, you're leaning against the booth. I will ask one more time, and then I'll get serious. Why did you murder Mage LaFlame? It's a simple question.
That was not Mage LaFlame.
Oh, it is not Mage LaFlame, you say? And she's like right in your face, then stands up. I'm sorry. Sometimes I get excited. I know you must be very frightened right now. I don't mean. Have you delicately in my hand right now? I could crush you.
Let me move. I will show you how afraid I am.
I know. You talk a big game, monstrosity killer, but you don't know. Oh, it wasn't Mage LaFlame. Then who was it? Was it King Hugo then? Please tell me more.
It was a big bag of black liquid.
Hmm.
We have a sample.
Oh. Really? Do your
I think.
compatriots have anything? Oh, I hope for your sake you do. Do your compatriots have anything to add? How about you, little Henri? Go ahead and tell us your little explanation, old man. And you, little witch. You, what is your explanation? Why? I seem to recall. Oh, I don't know. Let me think about this. And she waves her hand across the table, and some mist swirls on it, and then it sort of catches the light in just certain ways. And what you see is an image of what happened before, and the four of you, and then sort of going in on you, Elay, as you reflect, as you and Francois together kind of team up against Mage LaFlame, reflect her abilities back at her, and then you cast the Cypher on her, and then you essentially take Mage LaFlame back to your safe house. And the whole thing plays out. Everything plays out, including the part where Mage LaFlame smashes through the window and explodes into an Icarus black goo.
She was being lowered down.
Oh, sorry. Yes, but yes. Thank you. I stand corrected.
Yes.
Little witch, old man, please. Why? Speak up. Time is of the essence. Why?
You sound like you've made up your mind. So what is it that you want to hear from us?
The truth.
Do all mages explode in a black goo? Will that happen to you when I kill you?
She waves her hand in your general direction. Go ahead and make a defense roll, and you feel the hairs on the back of your head tingle and stand up.
I'm
Are you
not gonna use any effort. I'm
just roll? You're like, you know better. You're like, why waste
like,
it?
nope.
Well, definitely with a roll
I mean,
of
I
a
rolled a
4,
13.
you shut down like C-3PO. And at you and like in fact you sort of like fall over, and you and like Francois are like, you look like you fell asleep. You're like on a field trip in 6th grade and you fell asleep on each other, and you're just like leaning into each other. And now Henri and Elay are the only two adults in the room at this point. And she just waits. The truth is all I ask for. Why did you kill Mage LaFlame?
As you may see from your recreation,
She's listening.
I did not kill Mage LaFlame. neither did my companions. And yes, he did explode into black goo. If you permit me to move, I may withdraw a sample for you to inspect.
She waves her hand. You feel tingling like at the back, like the back hairs on your neck stand up. Go ahead and make a roll to see if you can kind of raise your hand and like extract the sample. You want to apply any effort, or I guess not. You just roll.
Oh, there we go.
All right.
18.
Okay, so
Right.
with a roll of the 18, here's what you get. You do start to sort of get some feeling or sensation back in your body, and that hand is freed up, and you can kind of in your opposite hand you can feel your fingers start to sort of come alive as well, and awkwardly, kind of like the way that our bodies get or our limbs get when they like fall asleep. You kind of awkwardly kind of try to shift your hand into your pocket or into like your satchel, wherever that sample happens to be stored, and you place it awkwardly on the table, and the vial hits the table. You can hear it clank. It begins to roll across, and the flame just sort of leans forward, narrows her eyes, looks down at it, and now, being unable to move anything else in your body, you and Henri, your eyes focus on it, and what you can see is this black ichorous goo that's almost animated and moving about in the vial, which has been corked. Flame reaches out, picks it up, takes a look at it, and now all four of you, and in fact the entire tavern, is now just disappeared, metaphorically speaking, as she focuses in on the vial. And then without even thinking, without a second thought, she moves her hands this way, and you can kind of quickly see the scars and the scratches along her arms as she disappears it into her robe. Keep talking, and you, old man, what do you have to say?
I want to try something.
Okay, good luck.
I want to see if I can get the Cypher
Yeah.
from my pouch.
All right. So how are you going to reach for it? You're just
Like, I'm guessing my hands are down.
Yeah.
Just try to get my hand to move to grab.
I'm kind of willing to say that
Cypher.
maybe you're sort of like leaning back, and maybe your hand is like, I'm willing to say this. Your hand is kind of like
Okay.
over your satchel, which is there at like your hip or like
Okay.
your thigh or something, right? And it might be close enough. So do you want to apply effort to it? And you can apply.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to apply 2 levels of
2
effort.
levels of effort sounds like a good plan.
And I think, let me see. I have the hand to eye skill, which assists me with tasks, which normally it's for like pickpocketing and stuff like that, but I'm guessing it just helps my manual dexterity.
Okay, I'm willing to go with it for
it
the
can help.
fun of the moment. So we'll say 2 levels of effort. You're losing. I'm sorry, you're losing. You're using. Sorry, little
Yep.
Freudian slip. Doesn't mean anything about your next roll.
Oh,
So 3 levels so far. Do you have anything
Yeah.
else, like an asset
No.
of some sort, to help you? Like even tipping yourself over, like in that general
Yeah.
direction?
No.
Okay.
I think that'll be it.
Okay.
So 3 levels.
Yep.
There's my roll. It's an 8. I'm gonna use an XP to
Go
reroll
ahead.
that.
Use your XP.
Oh baby.
oh, that's better.
All right. First of all, as a duly designated representative of Monty Cook Games at this point, you, Henri Ducasse, as having rolled a 20, do in fact achieve what you're trying to do, what you set out to do, and you also get a major effect. Now, tell me what you want to achieve, and then tell me what you want your major effect to be, and if you don't have something in mind, I can suggest a few things.
So what I wanted to achieve with this roll was to get a hold of that perfect cipher.
So you do. Boom.
Okay.
Got it in the hand.
Major effect. I would like her to be distracted somehow.
Define distracted.
Like
I might
not
be able to
looking-
help with that.
Like not looking at me, maybe looking at Francois or Alay, or just her eyes averted from me and what I'm about to do.
I might be able to help with that because I have a plan of what I'm doing as well.
Okay, C-3PO, you are shut down at this point. 3PO, your hand grips Cypher that you were seeking. And at the very moment that this happens, something startles almost even you. And the front door of the tavern opens, and there's a bar of light that cuts through the darkness. And there's a blast of the celebration going on the streets out front. And Barbiea sighs, turns away from you all, from the table, waves her hand, and you actually see very quickly outside, as a few people who have been kind of looking inside, like wondering like what's going on or whatever, just suddenly look off and say, oh, let's go in this other direction or whatever, as if there was some sort of like field around the tavern now, causing people to leave it. And the person that's comes in, waves to everyone as if they're expecting like a greeting from someone, as if they're the resident barfly. Hello, everyone! And completely doesn't see what's going on, steps over to the bar, grabs a drink, downs it, and then collapses unceremoniously onto the floor, and then that door closes again, and you get the impression that one, anyone that's approaching the bar from the outside is being kind of diverted, like somehow in their minds to walk away, and then two, the local barfly, the resident barfly, is now like down for the count. So in that time, you can go ahead and do whatever you wanted to do with this distraction.
What I want to do with this distraction is to use my no need for weapons, and I'm going to clench my fist. It's got the cipher in it.
Yeah.
And I am going to swing with all my might right at this witch's face.
Okay.
And I'm going to use that cipher, which gives me an automatic 20 on my roll.
Oh, right, that's right. Perfection from the last game, correct?
So I absolutely succeed. Absolutely succeed at popping right in the nose.
Yeah. In this particular case, I'm just going to call this a natural 20 because that's the fun of it, right? It's a natural 20.
Yeah.
So as Barbiea, Mage Barbiea, turns back to place her attention where it was just a moment ago, and as Philippe, out of character, is eating some peanuts and watching like it's a movie, tell us how you swing. You hit her. Go ahead.
I clench this perfection in my hand. I feel the almost like the North Star. It's like energy crackling in my fist. And I just reach up from the table that I'm leaning over. And make contact with her jaw with a European uppercut right in the kisser, hopefully knocking her out.
Never let it be said that our channel is not cultured, ladies and gentlemen. That is a European.
Yes, very cultured right from the world of wrestling.
That's no, it's not pro wrestling. It's European. It's fancy. It's it's got that je ne sais quoi to it.
It's like that. That's a European.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Your blow connects, and there's a moment where you can just feel the an unexpectedly solid jaw displacing itself, perhaps in the socket or the joint or whatever it's called, where the jaw meets the skull. And Mage Barbiea's head is launched upward, snapping on her neck, raising her up off the seat, blowing the seat backward, sending her arcing backward. And the others, Philippe, Francois, and Elay, just feel like this internal, unphysically exhibited yes. And Mage Barbiea hits the floor, slides through several chairs, knocks several patrons over like bowling pins. A couple tables go down. And I'll give you one moment where there's just suddenly the four of you have a moment to stand, but no one in the tavern is moving at all. What would you like to do?
Maybe we should take this moment to take a little break and then think it over and come back.
Okay, so let's do that. So with that, and actually this is a very good moment, let's take ourselves a bio break, and we will be back in 10 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll figure this out. We'll be right back. right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and I just wanted to apologize. I guess so. First of all, Scribe Neoseth watching in the chat noticed that when I was speaking, things were very clear, but when the other players were speaking, we were getting some sort of trouble with the audio. There was like a really bad kind of like jitter to it. So I'm not 100% sure. I think I may have identified the problem. I'm not going to explain and go through all of that and tell you what it is. But hopefully, Scribe Neoseth, if you could kind of listen along and let us know if you hear anything out of whack. Here's what we're going to do. So we're going to run the adventure for the next hour and a half and finish up for tonight. If there is a problem with the audio, then what I'll do is I am recording this right now, and I'm going to swap out this video with the recording. I'm going to cross my fingers that the recording picks up the audio crystal clear. I hope so. I think this is a problem with the streaming section of it. If it doesn't, I do apologize, but we're going to do our best. I think we're playing a great game tonight. I'm very excited with where we are. I kind of don't want to stop. I had sort of played with the idea of just sort of calling it a night and then seeing if we could do this next time, but I'm having a good time, so I would like to continue. All right, so with that in mind, let us continue. Scribe Neoseth, I'm going to turn things over to the players, so if you could kind of listen in and let us know if anything is going out of whack with the audio, that would be great. All right then, so players, what has happened is that Henri has basically delivered a very nice European, ladies and gentlemen, because we're cultured, blow to Mage Barbiea's chin, sending her careening into some tables. What are we up to at this point? I'm going to give my players a moment. I'm going to cross my fingers that the audio is okay.
I'm looking at Henry, and I simply say, fight or flight or flight.
Fight. Take her down.
Take my hammer off my back and go swinging.
All right, so
I would like to fire off cussed blast while Philippe is running towards her. I can shoot. So she's getting hit with range and melee weapons.
all right. Ile, are you up to anything?
Yeah, I would also like to join the fray with my giant tooth mace.
All right then. So here's what I'm going to say. You were able to take. Oh, so Scribe Neoseth is saying that everything is still the same, sadly, at this point.
It's all garbled.
Yeah, so that is very unfortunate. Scribe Neoseth, you can at least understand what people are saying, or is this just horribly difficult to understand? Waiting for a response, but we'll find out. Very sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen. The thing that bugs me most about this is that I feel like we're really on a roll. We're having a great game, and I don't want to otherwise affect what's going on, or I should say hinder what's going on, just based on some darn. It let himself follow more or less. Okay, well, we'll see. So Scribe Neoseth, we're going to just keep going, and we're going to hope that things clear up from time to time. I do apologize for the trouble. And as a matter of fact, yeah. Okay, so we'll keep going and we'll see what's happening. All right, according to this, we have an excellent connection. We're going to play the next hour or so of the game. We're going to play this out. We're going to see what happens. I'm going to cross my fingers that things are A-okay. So everybody's sort of moving into an attack position. Is that correct? Thanks, Scribe Neoseth.
Yes.
Appreciate the support. All right, so is there anyone that wants to go first in particular?
Probably the ranged attack makes sense.
All right.
We close the distance and bash and smash just afterwards.
All right. Step forward and make your ranged attack.
Okay, so my concussive blast. Do you want the description?
Yeah,
what it
go
is?
ahead and tell us what the concussive blast is so that everybody can kind of follow along and know what's going on.
You release a beam of force that smashes into a creature within short range, inflicting 5 points of damage and moving it back in immediate distance. So potentially knocking tables or walls. So I lift my ruby glasses.
Right. Okay, nice reference.
And then concussive blast is the ability. Since it's magic, it's intellect effort, right? What I would use.
Okay, intellect effort.
And I have no like physical asset. So I guess two easement, and then I can roll 60.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. Tell us what it looks like.
It's a pretty standard hand thing that shoots out like a bluish beam of pure force.
So what you see is a ripple in space-time as you begin to bend light and energy and matter around your hands and into your control, and a bubble of blue flame, I believe you're saying, moves forward. So Mage Barbiea raises her arms up, and again, as she does so, you can kind of see the sleeves of her robe as they slide down, and you can see that basically those scars are all along her arms. The blow hits her, and she does nothing. Next up.
That would be me.
Go ahead.
For the attack, I am specialized in heavy bashing attacks. I'm using my hammer. I am going to activate the special ability bash. Takes in might. It's one damage when it dazes the target for a round.
Okay.
And I will use a level of might effort.
Okay. Just one.
Just one specialized in heavy bashing.
Oh, right. Specialized. Got it.
Yes. Let's go.
All right. Give it a roll. Why couldn't you guys have rolled an 18 when you were getting shut down by her? But with a roll of an 18, tell us what it looks like as she's holding up her arms like this, just from the recovery from Francois' blue energy wave. But now, yeah.
And from the side, the bell of the hammer just swinging right to the side of her head.
Oh, the side of her head. So as this happens, she actually puts her hand out, catches it, and the blow is softened. And then she raises her head, and her two eyes focus on you like a laser, as if she's very offended at this point. And then she pushes the hammer away. Next up. I detect nervousness among the remaining people.
She was bad that we did not defeat in a previous unbroadcasted episode. So she was
They do have a backstory,
pretty
ladies and gentlemen.
bad. Yeah. So I'm like, not this one again. Okay. But I have my little scarf that I've been making that I didn't have before. like to kind of take a peek at her through the
Okay.
knitted fabric.
I like
just
this.
To see if anything new comes up that I can glean from
You've got the
this.
scarf. Are you using anything else here?
What else can I use? Could I use my identifying skill?
Sure.
Find a weak point.
Okay, so you're looking for a weak point. Tell me something else that you might be looking for. I don't quite.
Just looking for something that could give me an advantage in launching a defense or an attack against her.
Go ahead. Yeah. And then anything else?
I would like to apply some effort.
87 levels of effort.
Yeah.
1 or 2 or.
Let's do 2.
Okay. Go ahead and make your roll.
Right. Not so bad.
With a roll of a 16, you don't get much out of it except this. She's not really trying to fight you. That may be because she doesn't take you seriously, or it may be because for other reasons. Henri, you're up.
So seeing that these the physical blow didn't do much, I am going to. I have a it's a run and fight. So it's basically a movement slash attack thing. What my goal with it is not necessarily to hit her directly, but to so she's kind of ground with like tables and chairs kind of near her, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to use any kind of obstacle, chair, bar stool, or whatever to try to pin her so that she can't use her arms and whatever her mystical magic.
Yeah. Okay, so you're gonna use that. So that's one easement right there. Anything else?
I'm gonna use an effort.
1
And
or 2.
I think at this point 2 is probably necessary.
Okay.
So I will use 2 effort and away we go. 14.
With a 14, there's nothing you get out of this. But I will say that, again, kind of as I mentioned to Elay, she doesn't seem to be really fighting you back seriously. And with that, actually, though, it is now her turn. Having gone all the way around the table, metaphorically and literally speaking, she raises her hands, gives you kind of a mischievous grin, her eyes darkening. Please, calm down. Let's talk about this, shall we? Have a seat.
What do you want to talk about?
She walks very cautiously over towards the chair which she had been sitting in a moment before and which was knocked over. Very carefully, showing her hands, lifts the chair, then sets it back down. I am simply here to find out exactly why you killed Mage LaFlame. I needed to find out why you really killed LaFlame.
What's in it for you? Friends?
Please, relax.
Lovers, perhaps?
Relax. Little witch, please have a seat. Old man.
Don't call me little witch for starters.
Or insect.
You come up in here, we're having a perfectly nice time. Pies and our ales. And then
And
you
our
turn
backs.
everybody to stone. Okay? Forgive us for being a little bit defensive here. You accuse of a murder of all things. So we're a little bit testy right now.
There is an infection here in Frankreich. And I'm here to make a deal with you. I only needed to find out whose side you. Tell me that there was some sort of darkness in La Flame, and La Flame was not really who they say or who they are. So, I propose a deal of sorts. You are very concerned about Paul Durand, are you not? He is scheduled for execution next week. You believe Paul Durand, and of course we all know Paul Durand is innocent. I propose a deal. I will make sure that Paul Durand goes free. If you can identify who it is that is replacing key citizens in Frankreich,
Agreed.
whatever. Just very quick. Okay, whatever.
Hang on. You're like, done. Like, hang on. How do we know that we can trust you? Because just a few weeks ago, you made it very clear that we were not going to get further involved in the Durand case. One. And two, that you had a vested interest in seeing Paul Durand die. So I'm a little confused here for one. Why you would suddenly be about face on this issue.
Let's just say that the mages, the guild, has certain priorities, and new priorities have come into being. We have recently discovered an infection. Little parasites, those little insects, their way in Frankreich, taking over positions that they should not be taking, and we fear parasites are coming in from the darkness. From what I understand, to have a meeting arranged. Members of the Seraphinian revolutionaries. Well, let me say that one more time. The Seraphinian revolutionaries. We need you to find out who it is, where they're coming from, who has replaced key figures across Frankreich and, well, to be honest, across Braves. Are you up to the task? Can we make a deal? One life for some information.
How do we know we can trust you, though?
You don't. You don't know this. But I think the last time we met, I was trying to make certain that you'd meddled in our business no more. Why would I come to see you if I wanted you to leave us alone? Why would I extend myself to you? Why would I want to meet with you? Unless it were pure selfishness on my part. Durand is nothing to us. He was part of a small plan, but that plan can be adjusted in order to prevent a much more terrible. So, do you think you are up to the task? Perhaps you could meet with your young friend, Daniil Codier. Even now, speaking with members of the Seraphinians, trying to promise them that you would make great members. Perhaps you could get onto the inside. You see, as a mage of the arts cosmique, I have certain powers, I have certain intelligence, I have certain abilities, far beyond those of the four of you. No offense, that are easily detected. But for the four of you, with your hammer and your cricket and your whatever those robes are, Francois, and of course your ear, Henri. Well, these are tiny, insignificant things that would not cause more than a ripple. If they cause
How's your jaw?
she adjusts it. Hair pop. Right where it needs to be. So, what do you say? Paul Durand? For information, not interference, information on the Seraphinians and who among them is infected by this darkness. A simple meeting. If you go tonight, if Daniil agrees, then you go with him. You meet them. I warn you it will not be easy, but that is your part of the bargain. And if not, some other way you find out. What do you say? A life for information. A life for information. I'm waiting.
We can probably get you information, but we cannot promise no interference. That is who we are.
Yes, I actually have some intimate knowledge of that myself. You do have a tendency, like little insects, to get into things.
We might burn down a building or two.
I have heard that story as well.
Maybe if perhaps if you gave me I don't know what they call it, some collateral or something of yours that I keep until our ends of the bargain are met.
She raises her hand and makes a fist, and you begin to hear, or you begin to feel the hairs on the back of your neck stand up and a clenching in your chest. I want you to make a roll to resist whatever forces she's calling into play right now. Want to apply any effort, any abilities, or any assets that might help you?
You know, those little attacks that I was able to resist from the flame earlier in the day, with that possibly.
Okay, I'll count that as an asset. We'll count that as an asset automatically.
Okay. Let's see here. Anything else?
You better have more than one easement for this NPC.
I don't suppose obstacle remover will qualify for this.
Tell me what
I don't have-
obstacle remover is.
I don't have a copy of the
Wonderful. I'll look it up really quickly.
Sorry.
No,
Yeah,
that's okay.
yeah.
That's okay. And so if you're going to apply an level of effort, obstacle remover, do you have some sort of an asset? I'll look up obstacle remover.
Not really.
I see obstacle running. I think obstacle running is what it is. I don't see obstacle remover.
Okay. I may have written it down.
It's okay. Not a problem. Not a problem. So then let's go back through this one more time. What are you applying here? Any effort?
Yes.
One level. And then how about an asset? You've dealt with her before, so we'll count that as an asset.
I also dealt with the flames, sort of little mind tingling stuff earlier as well. But I'm not sure. She seems like maybe a more powerful mage.
Yes, I would say that she's significantly more powerful than La Flame. You do have some, you know, a little bit of easement there. You want to go with one more level of effort?
Yeah, I really have the other physical assets.
Go ahead and make a roll.
Right.
Wow!
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, that I believe is a roll of a 20. That's pretty darn good. So on a defense roll of a 20, here's what you get. First of all, what you see through automatically, without even thinking, is that Mage Barbiea is squeezing your heart and your lungs, like physically. Somehow reaching through space-time and like penetrating your chest and like causing the cavity within your rib cage to suddenly like just clench. But you know what? Someone perhaps in your past has pulled this trick on you before. And you laugh. And when you laugh, you can feel the oxygen filling your lungs and your heart just beating, not with fear, but with excitement at having been able to foil Mage Barbiea's plan here. Barbiea is not happy. Now, for a 20 on a defense roll, let me give you tell me what your major effect is on this. Tell me what you'd like to apply towards the scene and what's happening right now.
I would like her to just feel a bit like she's been challenged. She's not used to that, I imagine. So she's probably a little irritated, but trying to maintain her composure. But this still sort of throws
Psychologically,
like,
you're throwing her off.
Yeah, I'm like,
psyching her out.
How's that go?
Second time, for the second time in the last 10-15 minutes. The first time being, of course, Henri's European blow to the chin. Mage Barbiea has to take a step backward. And when this happens, rippling through the entire crowd that is just sort of knocked out, people suddenly jerk up. Some of them spilling drinks and others like stumbling forward. And they all stare at her. And they hold up their arms, their mouths dropping open, hissing, as if they knew what she was doing to them, and as if they had some sort of primal instinct to attack her, and they take a step or two forward. And what you see ripple through Barbiea, and you can tell by her expression, this is not something she's used to happening to her. She's genuinely taken aback by this and struck. And you feel like deep down inside, you feel there's a little bit of pride. And I don't know if you want to smile or rub it in a little bit, but she's clearly taken by surprise. On the other hand, you may feel in the back of your head, well, I got a little lucky, but I'm going to play it 100% like I meant to do all of this. So it's up to you if you want to give her a little bit of a one-liner here, or if you want to just sort of let her stew in her own juices for a moment.
So here's what you're gonna do. I want your thumbs until you deliver Alderaan alive. We will deliver the information. You will deliver to us unharmed. His family will be unharmed. And you will leave the Durand family alone, as well as the four of us alone.
She hesitantly nods. All right, then. Not just the Rand, but the family. But you should know that the family has been escorted to the outskirts of Frankreich and given a very good compensation for their husbands.
Then that should be easy to assure from you.
This will be done. We need to know the who and the where, and no interference. Leave this to the professionals and the experts. And
we will do as best as we can.
And as this is
information, and you will give us Durand.
As this is happening, the hissing, accusatory patrons of this tavern begin shaking, and then they go back to semi-consciousness. It can be done. It can be done.
Oh, and give me back the sample, please.
Do not push your luck. And the hairs on the back of your head began to stand up again. Would you like to test her, or do you want to try rolling another 20?
No, I'm gonna leave it. I'm like, fine, you can borrow the sample for now.
Like you could borrow it. It's yours. It's a loan, but make sure it's back by 8 a.m. in 2 days, or there's going to be a charge for like for the extension.
I'm gonna charge
There's a late
interest.
fee. There's a late fee.
Yeah.
It's like Blockbuster Video back in the.
It's like a sample library.
I thought that you would see it my way. She, with that, reaches into her pocket, puts her hand up as if to say, "Don't worry, don't worry," and then passes you a stone about the size of a coin.
I don't want to take a stone past.
We just lost all of our sponsorship, and now we're suddenly sponsored by a radiation machine that breaks up kidney stones. We've just gained that, our viewership. She passes you a stone, which looks like it's been worried with someone's thumb for 1,000 years. It's incredibly smooth. When you have the information, rub the stone, and we will know. I will know. She slides it across the table, and you can kind of hear the sounds of a very smooth stone as it passes across the wood. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry. These things just happen. They're my players. It's a game. As serious as I tried. No, it's not your fault. It's my fault. I don't know where it came from. You just sort of, I set him up and you knocked him down. She sets it there. And with that, turns, starts to walk out. You see, as she turns around, you see as she like takes a deep inhalation. You see her shoulders go up, And then she turns around. You can go ahead and say what she's forgotten.
Your thumbs, madam.
She looks at you and smiles. She then places one hand on the table, pulls a knife from her pocket, looking you square in the eye, cuts through the gristle and bone of one thumb, holds the hand up in front of you with blood streaming down one arm, does the same with the second, smiles, holds her hand up, and somehow, in the movement of her hands, she's got two thumbs again, but there are two thumbs left on the table. Waves bye-bye. Turns around and heads out. Unless you stop her, which I'm going to assume that you've sort of noticed here that only 20s are able to do any damage to her. Or above.
Yeah.
Unless you want to stop her.
Not
She leaves.
particularly.
The moment she steps out, one patron suddenly jerks to life. Starts like laughing right where they were before. And another one starts laughing. And then maybe the musicians that were playing some music start playing their music again. The tavern manager spins his finger around in a circle and orders a round of drinks for that table over there. Each one of you suddenly regains usage of your limbs, and you get that feeling kind of rippling through your bodies of like basically a, you know, like your body is, your limbs have been asleep for a horrible amount of time, and now you're kind of like trying to like work the blood through them again to get like things flowing. And the tavern comes to life as if nothing had ever happened, and you don't even notice, as a matter of fact, as whether or not she's left or gone into the back, or she's the cook now, or what the heck has happened. You're not even quite sure, and everything comes to life again. And perhaps we'll say that maybe an hour has passed, just roughly, and it's, I don't know, 7 p.m. or so.
I'm gonna wrap thumbs up in clean cloth, put them in a little jar, put it in my sack with some medicinal herbs in it to preserve the thumbs.
As you pick the thumbs up, what you notice is that there's like these long stringy strands like moss. It's for blood that sort of pull themselves up, draw themselves up into the thumbs, wrapping themselves into them. And you do, they don't fight back, but you can kind of feel that there's a little bit of life to them as they're wiggling around. And you're able to do that, and I assume your companions are completely grossed out. And just like, just shrug. It's silly.
I'm sort of scratching my head out there. Ladder. If she already has, she doesn't.
But they're magic thumbs.
They're magic.
These are her thumbs.
Figure it out. I don't know.
It's an insult. Nothing else.
This is a meta remark that I can make right now is we're all making this up as we go along. We'll see how this works out. Who knows? And so, I know that this is probably a bit of a moment where you need to gather your wits about you and take a breath. What are we thinking here at this point? Do we want to?
I'm very glad, by the way, that I took more than one sample back of Flame's blood.
Right.
I just didn't want her to know that.
You fooled not only her, but the GM. Nice. And that's the ultimate test of foiling or fooling the characters, as you fooled, or the NPCs, you fooled the GM. So what are we up to at this point? It's been an hour, hour and a half, whatever.
We had four
destination options
Yeah.
initially.
Yeah.
It was go back to the Darkites, where they were. If they're still there, probably. We had the blacksmith, Bruno. We had John. We had hang out at those slings. Pig.
Yeah.
Waiting for who it seems from her comments is not coming back. So we're down to 3.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're not quite sure at this point. You don't know whether you
I
can.
thought maybe she had sort of paused his arrival and talked to us.
I like how you're thinking. I'm not going to say it's right or wrong, but I like that element of the story. Anyone?
I mean, it does seem like Daniel is kind of crucial element in this side
Cypher all around. They clearly have something to do with the absorption and creation of powerful people in braves. I saw one get. I saw Provost.
Pomeroy. Thank you.
Pomeroy got absorbed by one of the revolutionaries. So it's embedded that parasite or not. It seems like what we are investigating exactly what Barbiea wants us to look into.
So, you can take a moment now. No one apparently is here to put any pressure on you, particularly the GM, but also in game. No one here. You can talk about and discuss what you'd like to pursue. So you have, just to sort of sum up here, you have the brands on the street behemoth, which sort of show a record. So one of them was Louis VA, one of them was Najak, one of them was the museum, one of them was the army, and I forget what the 5th one was. There were 5 that I wrote down.
The council
Right.
was the second
And
one.
you would recognize, Philippe, that this is sort of the logical order that it goes. And the museum you would recognize as being like a place where, in your head, you'd sort of know, okay, well, older behemoths and creatures are sent there when they're close to death, but they're put on exhibit or whatever, and they're just basically sort of like paraded around. Francois and Elay, you have, of course, this connection with the mages of the arts, or I'm sorry, the mages of the Guild of the Arts Cosmique. And I'm not sure how you want to pursue, or if you want to pursue that, but you do know that obviously Mage Barbiea has come in claiming that someone is taking over and sort of like possessing, for lack of a better word, the bodies of certain key figures around Braves, and that
Which
maybe
seems to scan what we've seen so far.
it matches up so far. And then Henri, you have your lead with, of course, Daniel Codier, who may or may not be coming back later, and may or may not, if he does come back, say, hey, come on along and meet with my fellow revolutionaries. We're all meeting like at 11 o'clock tonight. And now you have the other layer here, which is, even if he says, hey, come on and meet with us, do you want to walk into the Lion's Den with potentially, and I'm not telling you this, but potentially, I am telling you this, but I'm not trying to stop you, with potentially a group of possessed revolutionaries?
We just throw them out the window. They will explode.
Right. Oh, I have an idea of how these different options. An idea that the GM will absolutely love. Let's split up.
I love
it.
More options, more places to go.
Oh,
Let's do it.
Yeah, and let's do 4 different games over the next 2 weeks, one with each
Maybe
player.
not do more.
That will not affect my life, my work, my parent-teacher conferences, my ability to find a mate, my ability to move into my new apartment.
that's
my
right.
ability to snuggle with my cat, my ability to sleep or write narrative evaluations for my students at all.
Right, exactly. Right. So
Cool. So we're all agreed. Right, and we're gonna do it every night for the next. Yeah, let me just give me 17 hours to prepare for for each episode.
No. Well, okay, so it's 7 o'clock now, right? Thereabouts?
Yeah, we can roughly say that. Whatever's convenient for the
So Daniel is supposed to arrive in about 3 hours. Maybe.
Well, he's supposed to be here before so that you can
Right. Meeting is
at
supposed
11.
to be. Yeah.
He's no-showed so far, but you're not really sure. You didn't get like a clear time for him to arrive.
Because I think if we are potentially going into this sort of parasitical meeting, I think if we just kind of tread carefully, sort of know what to look for, we don't have to do anything. We just go collect information and observe. And then retreat, acting like we don't know what's going on, say nothing about exploding mages or mages missing thumbs, and I think we can avoid altercations in that area. I'm not sure how the other two connect, like the museum or Zanuck. Najak. Okay, so Najak connects directly, but that also is interesting because why are these here? So
Minor made a point here that you would, I think your characters would kind of know. So the brands, there were 5 different brands, and you would know, Philippe, and would have explained to your companions that essentially the brands represent kind of like a chain of custody. So the creature was found outside the wall, so that's why the first brand was the army. The second the King's Army. The second brand was the King's Council, I believe, because they're the ones that sort of decide. You would kind of know this. They decide what's going to happen to the thing. The third brand, I believe, was Louis VA.
VA was 3.
He was the third one, and that was the one where it was kind of like, how did that happen? And then I can't remember, the 4th and 5th brand were either Najak and then the museum, or the museum and Najak.
It was Najak and
then the museum. So you would understand that Najak received the street behemoth in for the museum, and I believe that was actually explained to you because it was told to you that Najak was working for the museum, which is kind of a common thing. Like the museum was, just to refresh everyone's memory, La Musée des Armées, which would roughly translated as the Army Museum in French. It is, I don't want to tell you too much about it, but essentially it's a precinct of braves that is dedicated to the glorious exploits of the King's Army and those that support the King's Army. So it was an area that was kind of created a few years after the wall went up as kind of a propagandistic sort of district to show all of the glorious exploits of the King's Army and allow the citizens to come in and sort of serve as a recruiting vessel for potential, as they were called, oh boy, I forgot the word in French. But there was a word which I'll look up in a moment, and I don't want to look into it right now. But to recruit people to join the King's Army. You would kind of know this sort of chain of custody idea.
And I want to take those off the table for tonight. Because of the National Day of Green. The museum is all crazy, and we will not find the giant no matter how hard you try.
At this point, 7 or 8 o'clock, the museum is probably closed.
That's also a good point.
I mean, I say it, but waiting for Daniel is really our only option. Because that's the deal we made with Barbiea.
I agree.
If we leave here and he shows up, we'll never find him again.
Yeah.
But if we stand up and make we're going to leave, something's going to happen again.
Otherwise, you were words that you two get to watch us sit here like this
And freeze.
for another hour and a half.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like you can't get a waiters in a restaurant, but then you just like you're going to leave.
That is
And then they're like,
oh!
oh!
Only in France. And I hate to say it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I love France. I teach at a French school. I go to France like every year or two, except for like because of the darn pandemic. I love it very much. But one complaint I have, Mr. Macron, if you could fix this, are the waiters and waitresses. They do not come to your table. And I'm like, let's just go. And the moment you get up to leave, they suddenly descend upon you. Not unlike Henri delivering a European uppercut to someone's chin and suddenly say, is there something wrong? Is there a reason you're leaving? And then you say, I want the check. And say, oh, okay, I'll get it right now. You sit down and you wait another hour. 3 years later. You get up to go again, and the same thing happens. Anyway, I'm so sorry.
So you're just kidnapped by these.
I know that
French
there are no
restaurants.
viewers in France watching, but if you happen to be, I love your nation. Just, you gotta fix the waiters.
And I hope you understood the Mayday over the phone reference. That's what it's called.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much. Now, back to the game because nobody tunes in for a bunch of silly French.
For light banter.
Yes. Garçon. Yes, you're right. Garçon. That's right. Now that's actually, we could call that a Pulp Fiction reference. Oh, well, yes, right. This is the channel is off the rails right now. The game is off the rails. What are we doing, folks? Players.
I guess sitting around and waiting for Godot to show up.
Yes. This episode is waiting for Daniil. Entire episode.
If this were a podcast, if this were a podcast, you would have just titled it. Waiting for Daniil. So you wait. And eventually, Daniil does show up. Thankfully,
Sitting there whispering during the cattle.
you guys are like leaning back. Like, okay, well, I guess the GM is doing a bottle episode where we just stay in a restaurant for 4 hours. So Daniil comes in. He looks around and he rushes up to your table, takes a seat, takes a drink of the beer. Everything is in place, my friends. I'm so excited, and they are very excited as well. We are ready for 11 o'clock tonight. We meet at Le Dôme, the Dome, a coffee house. Thanks a lot, Francois. A coffee house in the 7th precinct. Are you still willing and able?
We are. What's the fallout?
Fallout? What do you mean?
We saw several of your men
No.
arrested.
Arrested? What do you mean?
By the dark.
Oh!
At the
Oh, there's nothing to worry about. Nothing at all to worry about. I'm sure everything will be all right. I was told this. I can't say very much more. If you agree, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's make Legerdemain and head out.
All right. So at this point, what I want to do is I would like to. There we go, Sir Bear. Thank you, Scribe Neoseth. I appreciate someone from. I appreciate you giving us like the Latin-based language knowledge that you have. So, are there any? I just want to ask this and kind of figure this out at this point. Our game so far has been 3 episodes long, but all of this has happened in the span of 1 day. How is everyone looking as far as their pools go? This is just a general question. You don't have to tell me specifically, but are you feeling confident or are you feeling nervous?
We did roll at the end of the last game.
I do remember that.
When we got here.
You did an immediate action roll. You did like the 10-minute roll. You did the 1 hour roll.
The one hour roll.
But you haven't done the
tonight. But I'm still pretty full.
Okay. Does anyone at this point want to make their 8-hour, or I think it's 8 or 10-hour roll? I'm willing to just call it an 8 or 10-hour roll if you want.
The fact that you're asking me this, or asking us this,
I'm
makes me
honestly
want
just
to.
doing, yeah, I'm honestly just doing inventory at this point. And I mean, you've been eating, you've been drinking, waiting, resting. You've mostly been immobile. Uppercutting, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, go ahead and make
off.
your rolls. So it's essentially, it's a d6 plus your tier, which is 3.
Okay.
You guys don't have to. Oh, okay. Well, I did. Oh, whoever rolled a 6, it's great. 3, not too bad. 3 plus 3, 6 plus 3, 6 plus 3. 1 person left.
Oh, I'm not.
No problem.
Because I literally down one.
Yeah.
Might.
Okay.
So no matter what I roll, I'm gonna recover that.
Yeah. Could be using trick dice.
Just give me zero.
You rolled a 0. There we go. You rolled a -3. You have to take.
I would
away.
have to roll a negative in order to recover less than them.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So everybody's rolled their recovery rolls. So with that, very excitedly, maybe almost too excited. Daniil leads you through the streets of Braves. And at this point, it's the end of the day of the green. You're half an hour away from 11 p.m. or something like that. You've had a very long day. A lot of bizarre things have happened. A lot of frightening things have happened. Your perspective on life, on Braves, on Orbis Terra, on everything that you know in life has been turned upside down and then placed back upright and then upside down maybe one more time. You thread your way through the streets of Braves, making your way toward Les Dômes. And appropriately enough, you find yourselves near VA Station, which is a stop for the carriages the public transportation that takes citizens of Braves through the city. And you wonder whether or not that's coincidence or if that's fortune or karma or something else. But you're at VA Station, and there at the VA Station, there on the corner of an intersection of 5 different roads, you find the Dome. And the Dome is a 2-story cafe with the requisite tables on the outside. No waiters or waitresses or servers to be seen, as you would expect from Frank Reich traditions. And above the 2-story building, you see several other stories, residential stories. And the cafe is packed. And looking at the clientele, the impression you get is that this is one of those newfangled cafes, the kind where intellectuals of the era visit. And they talk about snooty and snotty things, like removing the monarchy, installing a government based on the will of the people. And maybe when it gets a little bit darker out, maybe they talk a little bit about what they would do to the king, the royalty, the nobles, how they would turn things upside down, what they would do to eliminate them. And you realize that you're at a cafe, you're at a place where people often talk of revolution. And maybe, and I'm not sure how you feel, I don't want to tell you, but maybe you're a little bit nervous at this point because you hadn't been expecting a place quite like this. This is a very controversial place. And I'll ask you right now, how do you feel? The people, the sort of people that frequent a place like this are the sort of people that are really looking to cause trouble and to go against the monarchy, to go against the status quo, turn things over. How do you feel about this when the status quo is really all that stands between you and the darkness out there and the rest of Orbis Terra? Does anyone have a particular opinion, or shall we just move on and have you all kind of?
Well, I have an opinion. I'm not there. Not because of Elliott's vibe, but just because strategic, my team is walking into what could be a trap. Someone's got to stay on the outside to bust them out. So if all these revolutionaries were nervous about being brain dead, Southeast trying to murder, then I want to be able to be on the outside and be the escape plan to my team. It will save from having to go through the walls to get away. That's fair.
Anyone else?
Well, I mean, we could ask to just meet outside. Just stay on the outside of the cafe instead of going inside.
I'm not worried. They should be right about us. We're proud of what we are.
Yes.
Yeah. As far as politically speaking, I don't really have an opinion at this point. I'm just like all I care is about getting my payment. It doesn't matter if it's really the king's or some revolutionaries treasure chest. As long as I get paid doing what I do, I don't care who's in charge.
Okay. So you're just going in. Are you, Francois, going to hold back or stand back?
Yeah, I'm gonna hold back, even though I sympathize with the revolutionaries, because I have there's no walls between me and the guild, and I don't care. That's sort of that bad vibes going on as well.
Yeah.
Kind of sympathetic overall vibe of revolutionaries.
Yeah.
But after seeing somebody loaded to black I'm suspicious of Rosset, and I want to be my teammate. I mean that's kind of the plan. Generally, you always have a guy sniping outside, waiting to save the group.
Okay.
Or maybe
so
someone else.
So let me ask you this though. So Francois, I do understand Eric has military experience here, but practically speaking, within the bounds and the realm that we're sort of dealing with,
I thought this before I opened my mouth and let fly like there would be in the mage training that I was trained myself and then trained others.
I was
you don't put all 5 wizards in one block. You always have at least one, if not two, kind of on the outside.
I was only going to ask whether or not you wanted to make that a physical or a supernatural sniper. So I was thinking more along the lines of you or Philippe. I don't mean to interrupt at all, and you and Philippe can talk it out. But Philippe, I don't know if you would want to say, to hell with this supernatural space-time crap. Good sword or a good hammer is what we really need on the outside. I don't know. I don't mean to.
I am stepping in.
Okay.
That is where the fun
Yeah.
is.
Oh, yeah. Got it. That could be equally an equally valid attitude. So then with that, looking now, it's late night and it's a few moments before 11, which is when this supposed meeting was about to happen. So Daniel holds his hand. Hold on, just a moment, just a moment. And you look out at the guests or the patrons of Le Dome, and you see that each one of them, each and every one of them, despite the fact that this is a sort of place where people come, revolutionary types come, progressive types come, and they talk about removing the monarchy and installing the people, each one of them is wearing some sort of mask. Daniel comes, darts in, hand covered over his face, is gone for just a few moments, and then he comes running out with cloaks and a bundle of clothing. And he hands them just sort of randomly to each one of you, and you each get like a different animal. And he's got one for you, Francois, if you choose to take it.
I'll take it.
What? Just tell me real quick, like if you want, like what animal are each one of you? What are these masks and maybe like a cloak that is kind of like the fur or the skin, if it's a reptile or whatever. What are you all each wearing?
I'll take the fox one.
Got it.
Since yeah.
Mine's a wolf.
Full on the wolf, and like that maybe it's actually made out of wolf skin, but you kind of take a quick look at it. Each of you is not real wolf because there's no way you're gonna find a real wolf these days with the poisoned lands of Frankreich. Philippe or Henri?
I think call it armadillo.
So you pull that down and you pull these shells on, and what you're really wearing or really putting on is the more commonly found carapace of what are called bitter chickchums. It's like these lobster-like creatures, which we have actually encountered in prior prelude adventures to tonight's adventure. So you're able to pull that over your face and disguise your identity. Henri, anything in particular?
Yeah, it's a bear skin.
You pull the bear mask down over your face, hiding and disguising your identity, and then pull the cloak over your shoulders. And then
I'm going to cast distance viewing on Elay. It's I mean to give an idea of how this viewing works. It's basically like in the real outside of the real world, it would be like slapping a bro to Elay's cloak.
Oh. Does she have to agree to this, or do you just sort of do this?
I mean, I would assume that she would, but Francois is the kind of person who not ask and just do it. Something that my teammates just gonna let me.
That's fine.
Yeah. You create an invisible immobile sensor. Last 1 hour created concentrate hear and smell sensor. It doesn't grant you sensory capabilities beyond the norm.
Okay. And Elay, you're agreeable to this? Perhaps
That's
perhaps
fine.
you've kind of used this technique before, like in the past or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna say without even like making a roll, because Elay is agreeable to it, it just happens. Okay. But so you're able to see what she sees as if she were wearing like a GoPro. Is that what you're saying?
Basically,
I'm gonna ask
yeah.
you to make a roll for no particular reason other than I'm a game master and I like to ask people to make rolls. Do you want to apply? We'll call the ability one easement. We're gonna call. Do you want to add like
We'll use an intellect, right? So I can use two levels.
Two levels of effort.
That wouldn't cost me
Okay.
anything. And I don't know about an asset. Like I have a candle. I don't know.
Go ahead and make your roll.
So yeah.
Okay.
Well.
I am making note, ladies and gentlemen. The time is 11:01 p.m. Eastern Time. Francois Bernard has just rolled a 12 on his go.
They rolled the roll of clean up. Know how that goes out.
Hey, now.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. You're spoiling the magic. You're spoiling the magic, please. All right then. That very moment, essentially, well, not essentially. Daniel pulls out his costume, his mask, and he pulls the reptilian skin of a snake down over his face with two venomous well, I don't know if snakes have canines, but they have those fangs. And then he pulls the cloak of a snake made out of reptilian skin. And you can kind of see it glistening in the moonlight, what is visible through the ashen cloud cover above Braves. Wonder if that snake skin is real. And with that, beckons you forward. The four of you follow him into Les Dômes. And as you move forward through those others dressed in masks, you get a feeling down inside that you may have stepped a little bit out of your comfort zone with this. Some of the discussions, the fragments of discussion that you hear drunkenly are seriously about removing the king, about the guillotine, about death to the rich, death to the nobles, about how the monarchy is designed to grind down people and the citizens, and how the monarchy needs to be replaced.
Is there any mention of the flame?
Go ahead and make a quick roll for that if you want to listen in.
Just a quick roll. One level of intellect.
One level of intellect. Go ahead. Yeah. $12. Yes. There's mention of Pomeroy, but not of the flame. And it's a very cursory kind of mentioning. It's the sort of thing, it's like when you're like if you're talking about like your local political leader, your governor or your mayor or whatever. People are they're talking about them as if they were the man, if you know what I mean. In very general terms, but very serious, focused like a laser sort of terms. They want to remove them. But whether or not they're serious, you're not sure. And so, as you enter into Les Dômes, you make your way and you can smell the fumes of cigar smoke and cigarette smoke. People are burning and smoking tobacco. The smell of coffee and other drinks, tea, and you smell alcohol as well, which is a little odd for a place, but granted, it's getting close to 11 p.m., so who knows, maybe these coffee houses are serving something a little bit harder. And then with that, Daniel makes his way toward the back, waves you into the kitchen. Waves back a few guards who, upon appearances, you take a look at them and they look like they're just normal people, but their movement, you, Philippe, you can see there's some sort of military experience in their background. And you can also detect maybe a little bit of some sort of private service training, not unlike Bastarak Services or VA, Irregular Services Company, some sort of private mercenary training. But Daniil waves them back. They look you up and down, each one of you, in turn. And of course, they're covered in their own disguises as well. And it's all about their movement. And the four of you follow after him. I assume, you followed him into the kitchen?
Yes.
Well, I'm still
Right.
three of us.
I'm sorry, the three of you. And then he makes his way into the back of the kitchen. He looks from left to right. The other cooks and servers that are attending to the kitchen in the back look the other way as he presses a panel on the wall. Something slides back. There's a stairwell going down. As you approach it, a beam of light cuts through the darkness, illuminating what looks to be some sort of rippled effect on the walls, like something round and white is embedded into them. As you move closer, you notice that those small domes, those small circular objects, are skulls. Daniil waves you excitedly down into the passage. Come on, here we go. It's about to begin. He turns as if taking it for granted that you're going to follow him, and he heads down what you realize now are catacombs. Follow?
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know.
He's
going this far.
Torches, lanterns. He already
Looks like it's
have
pretty
one.
well lit down there.
Feels creepy going into a catacomb. Might be nicer to walk into a catacomb.
Ooh. So the three of you, what you're afforded, Francois, is a view of your three companions as they thread their way through the cafe area, slip into the back, and then very clearly disappear down the passage, the door of which closes behind them. And now, standing watch, how are you situated, Francois, watching the building?
I'm just out front looking at the building. When they started to make their way between all the other revolutionaries talking, shoulder drinking. I used that opportunity to release myself to morale immediately.
I will give that to you.
Away right outside the door. So I'm just standing outside in the streets, watching.
Okay. What you notice, and I'll say this without even having you roll, there are obviously guards posted now on the roof, and they're standing watch above. And so with this, ladies and gentlemen, I think that it's about time to end our adventure for tonight. I want to thank those of you that tuned in. And I want to thank those of you who are watching in the future with a recording of this. I'd like to apologize. Apparently we're having audio problems with all of the players, but not with me. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that next episode we won't have these problems. And what I may do in the meantime, and I'm not sure, it depends on what I find with the Zoom recording, I may actually upload the Zoom recording and swap this episode out for hopefully a clearer version of the episode. Thank you all very much for again for watching tonight. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please do think about liking, maybe commenting, perhaps sharing, and then subscribing. A small channel. I have some really great players. I think we're making a really great story, and it would mean a lot to me if all of this could pay off with more subscriptions and more viewers. But if not, and if you just simply enjoyed the story, thank you very much for coming along and following us in that respect. We will be back in a couple weeks. This is a Wednesday episode only because Friday we have a player or two that are going to be traveling, and so we decided to do a couple days early. But we're going to be back, I believe, on the 31st of March. So please do tune in. And in the meantime, I'm also going to have a few more interviews coming up between now and then. I do hope that you will think about subscribing and looking for those. Jonathan Fenton, I saw that. Definitely will. I really appreciate that. Believe it or I can't tell you how much I do appreciate any sort of shares, subscribed, comments, and the like. It really helps me out, and it makes me feel great knowing that my awesome players are finding viewers, finding people that want to watch their stuff. I think they're doing a great job. Everybody out there tonight, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a great game, and most of all, though, please do stay safe. It's getting to be a crazy world out there, and I want to see all of you in it and gaming healthily. Everybody out there, have a very good night, and see you in about 2 weeks and a couple days.